Nice. So, namaste everyone. So, welcome to this session of reading Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad, Hindi and English. Uh, we are at chapter 2, almost towards the closure of that. And so we will actually complete the chapter 2 and hopefully do the chapter 3 as well. It's a small chapter. Yeah. So in this chapter 2, we actually talked about the history of humans, right from the time they actually first emerged on this earth in the jungles from some animals, and then basically due to their faculties of imaginability or imaginativeness and freedom of action, that is kalpanashilta and karma swatantrata, they actually uh, their way of living kept changing. Yeah, but there is no qualitative change in their mindset, fundamental change in the mindset. So they continued to actually behave like animals, right? So this is what basically the mindset was not becoming very different from animals. So that is what in darshan we call it animal consciousness, right? So consciousness is akin to animals. So this darshan actually proposes that humans need to actually shift their normal to human consciousness, right? Which is their normal way of living, and that is the way they can actually be live according to their essentiality और अपनी मौलिकता के अनुसार वो जी सकते हैं. They can uh, they don't need to basically copy animals for their behavior. They can live according to their innateness, right? Which will actually lead to their own fulfillment on, and also uh, their participation in the uh, according to their essentiality in the four orders of the universe, right? So finally, basically, for harmony to be, all the four orders of in the existence need to basically be complementary to one another, participate in the overall scheme of things, and humans need to actually take that their role, right? So we have come to the human history, and now we are entering the next stage where at the advent of materialism, right? So we will actually mm, start from here. Sanjeev Bhaiya, would you like to take over?
Yeah, so let me just see Anumanta 200 वर्ष पहले. What is this? Which page is this in the Hindi book?
Okay, I don't need to check. Bhaiya.
16.
16.
Yeah, what is on the screen, that is 16.
So then it will be difficult to complete this chapter today. I thought we have moved forward or no?
Yeah, actually, this
No,
is the last one because I remember listening to this. I was trying to catch up today.
It's quite
I
big.
see a different one.
okay.
This-
Okay, okay.
हाँ, ये आगे होगा.
धार्मिक इतिहास भी
ठीक है.
शुरू हो गया था ना?
हाँ, हो गया था. 1 मिनट में देखता हूँ फिर से.
We're going to start from humans are
Yeah,
joined form as body and Jivan.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are right. You are right. Actually, I forgot to remove the marker
Okay.
from the
Yeah, no
last time.
problem.
Yeah. So just 1 minute, I'll share the
जी,
screen.
जी.
Yes, you're right, Mohanji.
Okay. So we are on page number 20 of the Hindi book. This is the book we are referring to. This is 2022 edition, and we are on page number 20. So what we can do is, Shilpa Didi, why don't you, if you can read the Hindi part, and maybe Mohan Bhai can read the English part.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Ji, please go ahead.
मानव शरीर और जीवन के संयुक्त साकार रूप में है। जीवन का अध्ययन जीवन स्वयं करता है, अर्थात मानव करता है। जीवन ही जीवन का दृष्टा है, जीवन ही अस्तित्व में दृष्टा है, और जीवन ही शरीर का दृष्टा है। इस तथ्य को जीवन ज्ञान से जानना मानना संभव हो गया है। इसलिए जीवन ज्ञान परम ज्ञान है। सह अस्तित्व दर्शन ही परम दर्शन है। इन दोनों के योगफल में मानवत्व सहित मानव अपने में व्यवस्था है और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदार है। इसका प्रमाण हृदयंगम होता है। इसलिए मानवीयता पूर्ण आचरण ही परिपूर्ण आचरण है। यह अध्ययन सुलभ हो चुका है। इससे हम संघर्ष युग से समाधान युग में संक्रमित होने की सहज दिशा, मार्ग, प्रक्रिया, पद्धति, नीति और प्रणाली पा सकते हैं। सभी मानव को इसे यानी कि मानवीयता जानने, मानने और पहचानने का अधिकार है। यही इसे मानव में स्थापित करता है। इसका परीक्षण किया जा सकता है। सह अस्तित्व मूलक मानव केंद्रित चिंतन ज्ञान मध्यस्थ दर्शन के रूप में प्रस्तुत है। अस्तित्व स्वयं सह अस्तित्व है, यह प्रतिपादित और विश्लेषित है। फलस्वरूप सह अस्तित्ववाद अपने आप अभिव्यक्त और संप्रेषित हुआ है। सह अस्तित्ववाद ही मानववाद है। मानववाद ही मूलतः मानव में, मानव से, मानव के लिए सार्थक है और सहज है। मानव की सार्थकता व्यवहार में प्रमाणित होना ही सार्वभौमिकता का आधार है। यस मोहन भाई।
Thank you, Didi. Humans are joints form of body and Jivan. The study of Jivan is performed by Jivan itself. Humans do this study. Jivan is the observer of itself, the observer within existence, and the observer of the body. This understanding has become possible through the knowledge of Jivan, making it the supreme knowledge. The holistic view of coexistence is the supreme world view. When these two are combined, humans endowed with humanness are orderly within themselves and are also participants in the overall orderliness. Thus, human conduct is the highest form of conduct. This understanding is now accessible through study. From it, we can discover the direction, path, processes, methodology, policy, and orderliness for transitioning from the era of struggle to the era of resolution. All humans have the right to know, believe in, and recognize this humanness, which is why it becomes accepted within them. This can be verified. Coexistent based human centric contemplation has been presented in the form of Madhyastha Darshan. The principle that existence itself is coexistence has been established and analyzed here, leading to the natural expression and communication of coexistentialism. Coexistentialism is therefore true humanism. Humanism is fundamentally meaningful and natural for humans. The manifestation of human meaningfulness in behavior is the foundation of universality. I'm just going to quick my notes here. Humans are the combined form of body and Jivan. where the Jivan act as the observer of itself, the body, and the rest of existence. This understanding, known as the supreme knowledge, combined with holistic view of coexistence, enables humans to live with humanness and participates in a broader universal order. This perspective, presented through Madhyas Darshan, establishes that existence itself is coexistence. By recognizing and practicing this true form of humanism, humanity can transition from an era of struggle to an era of resolution. Ultimately, when human meaningfulness is manifested in behavior through coexistencialism, it creates the foundation for universality.
Very
Shilpa Didi,
nice.
thank you.
Shilpa Didi, would you like to add anything?
No, I think Mohan Bhai has put it very well. So basically, over here, the main thing is coexistence and then humaneness, human conduct, and that all comes together. And Madhya Sudarshan, the study of coexistence based human-centric contemplation, because the Jivan is the one who can observe. So this is Madhya Sudarshan. So that is how I understood. And the principle that existence itself is coexistence has been already, established in the various orders, the four orders. Babaji has already presented that. So this is the natural outcome for humans now. So I think, yeah.
So, only thing that I would like to add here is that uh, this presentation of Madhyas Darshan is putting a few things as finality. That okay, this knowledge of जीवन is the supreme knowledge, that ये परम ज्ञान है, इसके आगे कोई ज्ञान नहीं है. Because अनुभव ज्ञान, that is the knowledge of what one actually achieves in realization, is the final gyan. There is nothing beyond it. It is all encompassing. Existence is all there is. Therefore, a holistic view of existence as coexistence is the supreme worldview. It is the most, it doesn't go, there is nothing beyond it. So that kind of sets the reference for it. Then third thing it says is that the conduct of humans, which can be completely wholesome and in harmony, is the humane conduct that is described here as manviyata punachran. So humane conduct is the supreme conduct, or the conduct which is worthy of humans, right? So in that sense, this darshan puts these references as the finality for us to study. For us to actually have the confidence in studying, this referencing needs to be there. We always are in the dilemma that there may be something beyond it. There may be something more than this. Maybe it is looking at some aspects, but what about other aspects that are not covered here? Then we basically are leaving a room for our own escaping the understanding, right? So here is this is what my take is on this paragraph. Any can invite any further discussion from all the people who are present here.
Raghav Bhai, you're on mute. I think he's saying something.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I mean, I was just trying to understand why it is being called as supreme knowledge. I understand supreme knowledge about how this whole system works, but there can be other kinds of knowledge, right? I mean, for example, how the planets move and how to build the aeroplane and all that. That will not be explained by Jivan, but that is not supreme knowledge, I guess, in this categorization.
Yeah, but basically what it is saying is that there are three levels of knowledge. Okay. One is called Gyan, second is called Vigyan, and third is called second is called Vivek, and third is called Vigyan. Gyan is the essential knowledge which leads to human fulfillment.
Yeah, yeah,
Vivek
understood.
is so that is a fundamental knowledge. So that is what why it is called supreme knowledge. Vigyan, there is will always be scope for actually more inventions, more innovations on how to do this, how to do that. So there will always be innovation, scope for innovation. But in the basically the knowledge that leads to our fulfillment, that actually comes from which basically leads to our fulfillment that has continuity, cannot have open-endedness. There has to be something absolute and complete in this. So that is what basically it is trying to say. This knowledge is the knowledge of Jivan. It's not the only knowledge in terms of what Jivan is and how it functions with the body. That's not what Jivan Gyan is. Jivan Gyan actually means Anubhav Gyan. That is the realization that comes in the Anubhav. So
Yeah,
Jivan Gyan,
yeah, that's why it was supreme. I mean, it doesn't mean that if you know the supreme knowledge, you would know everything about everything else. It's just that, yeah, it's supreme in terms of is the only way that I can get be fulfilled. Yes, I think I got the meaning. Rajesh, yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Rupa Didi?
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest like the first line, humans are the joint forms of the body and Jivan. So I think humans are the combined form of body and Jivan. I mean, joint forms was like not, I found while reading
Yeah.
it strange. That's a
Okay. Yeah,
suggestion.
I used to have combined form earlier. Maybe I will revisit it. Yeah. I was also having this in mind to actually revert it to combined form. Yeah. ठीक है. एक minute.
Joint and combined. Now it giving me more questions. Joint and combined. What is this difference? I mean, okay, combined, joint seems to be that okay, they are two different things that can coexist differently, maybe. Yeah. Okay, understood. Okay.
Yeah, basically there are two realities and one is Jivan, which is an atom in itself, and body, which is a physico-chemical form. It's a so these are two entities. So human being is a combined form of these both. Okay. So Jivan is not a concept, it is an entity.
Hmm.
Okay. So it is an entity which actually communicates with the body, which is physico-chemical. So there is a third type of reality that is there, right, which basically expresses consciousness, which is able to communicate with the uh, with with the body. So human being does not get its definition by Jivan alone. Human being does not get its definition by the body alone. Without Jivan, body is of no use, basically. And without body, Jivan actually cannot manifest itself. So human being actually is a combined form of these two separate entities. Okay. So that is a very fundamental knowledge that needs to be there uh, for us to actually discriminate. Yeah. Sheila Didi?
Yeah, good morning to everyone.
Good
One point that
morning. Nidhi.
becoming is quite interesting for me over here is that the study of Jivan is performed by Jivan itself. Jivan is the
Hmm.
observer of itself. You know?
Hmm.
So this point I was finding interesting because there are philosophical angles that say that conscious cannot understand itself, but there is a
Hmm.
limitation. So
Hmm.
this is addressing that also.
Yeah, that is also
Although the
true.
statement is, I mean, it's just a statement,
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
is addressing that point also. Addressing in the sense contradicting or
yeah.
establishing. Yeah, that.
Good. Very good, Devi.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at it, the materialism actually says that brain and mind are the same. The consciousness are brain itself is the consciousness. And somewhere, um, the idealism says that Atma itself is the Brahma. So both these answers, both these uh, both these are actually contradicted, or their solution is presented by Madhyas Darshan. Says that Atma is distinct from Brahm and brain is distinct from Man. So we'll come to these discussions at a later point once we start discussing Jivan Gyan. Yeah. Sanjeev
आगे
Bhaiya?
चलें भैया जी. So I see that Ganesh Bhaiya, Sheila Bhabhi, Anisha Didi, and Divya have joined in the last few minutes. So Divya, nice to see you in the meetings after a long time.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to read the next two small paragraphs, what we are seeing on the
Sure.
screen?
Yep, I can do that, sir. You
जी.
can hear me properly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Manav, Hindi and English both, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Both the paragraphs.
Okay. मानव मूलतः परिवार मानव है. अकेले में कोई कार्य और कार्य योजना नहीं बन पाती है. मानव के लिए मानव और मनुष्यतर प्रकृति, नैसर्गिकता और वातावरण है. इतना ही नहीं, अस्तित्व ही सत्ता में संप्रक्त प्रकृति के रूप में सह अस्तित्व और नित्य वर्तमान है. इन्हीं तथ्यों के आधार पर समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद, व्यवहारात्मक जनवाद और अनुभवात्मक अध्यात्मवाद मानव कुल के लिए अर्पित हुआ है. Humans are fundamentally family rooted beings. No work or action plan of humans can be formulated in isolation. For humans, other humans and non human nature constitute the naturalness and environment. Moreover, existence itself is coexistence in the form of nature saturated in omnipotence, which is eternally present. Based on these principles, resolution centered materialism, behavior centered public discourse, and realization centered spiritualism have been presented to humankind. मानव मानव सहज रूप में ही प्रयोग, व्यवहार और अनुभव रूपी प्रमाणों के साथ जीना चाहता है. सर्वतोमुखी समाधान पाना चाहता है, अर्थात विविध आयाम, कोण, दिशा, परिप्रेक्ष्य, देश काल में समाधान पाना चाहता है. इस आशय की पुष्टि प्रत्येक मानव में सभी देश काल में प्रकारांतर से होती है. इसलिए द्वंद्वात्मक भौतिकवाद के स्थान पर समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद को मानव के सम्मुख प्रस्तावित किया. विश्वास है मानव कुल अपनावेगा, इसे अपने ही स्वत्व के रूप में पहचानेगा, स्वीकारेगा और प्रयोजनशील हो जाएगा. Humans inherently seek to live with evidence through experimentation, behavior, and experience. They desire to achieve comprehensive resolution across various aspects, perspectives, directions, dimensions, and contexts of time and place. This intent is affirmed in every human across all times and places in different ways. Therefore, instead of dialectical materialism, resolution centered materialism is proposed to humanity. I am confident that human will embrace it, recognizing and accepting it as their own, and thereby become purposeful in existence.
Very nice. Divya, you read Hindi and English both very well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Rakesh bhai, just some trivial information for everybody. Divya is from Rajasthan, and we have like one of our participants from Rajasthan, Kishan Bhaiya. He teaches. He's a faculty member in a university in Bhilwara. And in
Mhm.
these sessions, in when we were reading Adhyatmavad and Janvad, where Divya was also participating and Krishan Bhai was also there. There they
Mhm.
recognized each other that Divya was Krishan Bhai's
That's true.
student 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was a good coincidence, and yeah. I
Yeah,
was always aware that he's exploring, but yeah, finding him here was a pleasure.
and Divya happens to be your ex-colleague also, right?
Right,
Sanjeev here,
right. Ji,
Yes.
correct.
presently in.
Yeah, we worked only for 4 months together on a project 12 years ago. But then we
Okay.
established a bond which will continue throughout this life.
Excellent. So
So,
basically, yeah, would you like to add anything, Divya, on this?
also, I think, yeah, no, I'll hear from you on the summary. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of concluding paragraph on this chapter. It says that humans are basically uh, mm, people, entities that live in family. They are rooted. They have roots in their family, and that is a very important recognition, that because that is the basis on which Babaji actually gives the vision of how humans can organize themselves as one entity in this whole world. So it says that basically it's not possible for humans to do any work and plan anything in isolation, and they need to actually work with their uh, environment and rest of the nature. So, so there are three main basically articles, or three which have been presented as Vad, or uh, we can call it what have called ideology, or the ideology of coexistentialism, where he basically develops the logic of his this darshan. These are called in Hindi Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad, Vyavharatmak Janvad, and Anubhavatmak Adhyatmvad. So Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad is the one what we are actually reading, the resolution-centered materialism, which we are calling it here. Then Vyavharatmak Janvad, which we call behavior-centered public discourse, is that okay, that humans need to, it's very natural for humans to talk with one another, and what should be the content of this talk, and what should be the purpose of this discussion, where should these talk, or what how they dialogue with one another. Okay, where should it lead? Where should it lead to? What kind of public opinion should actually be there? What should be the content of this thing at every place that is here? So this is one book which Sanjeev Bhaiya has translated, and the third one is Anubhavatmak Adhyatmavad, which is realizations in spiritualism. So spiritualism or Adhyatmavad is another dimension of humans that which has been mysterious. So so what he in this book he basically unravels this mystery, that Anubhav, the realization, is not a mystery. It happens in existence. It is happens in Jivan, in the nucleus of it, which is called Atma. And based on that, one becomes rooted in coexistence. And with that fulfillment, all one's conduct becomes based on that. Right. So this also has been translated by Sanjeev Bhaiya. So we will actually I think we have already read this in this group prior to this uh, this particular book. Yeah. So and then we basically are he's putting in the last paragraph the hope that that I am presenting this thing before the humankind, and I hope that I trust that that the humanity will embrace it, right, and they will actually accept it like their own, and thereby realize their purpose in life. Yeah. So this kind of sets the tone for the rest of the book. Yeah.
Bhaiya, if we can go back to the previous paragraph, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the last paragraph, first sentence, भैया प्रयोग व्यवहार और अनुभव. So normally we have been using
Yes.
realization
Yeah.
for अनुभव.
Yes, you are right.
जी.
I have missed it.
नहीं, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks.
We can go ahead. जी, जी भैया.
Yeah.
Good. So we go to chapter 3 now. I see
Mhm.
Anisha Didi has also joined today. Didi, if you are in a position and you would like to read, do you want to read the first paragraph here? Samadhan.
नमस्ते सभी को. हेलो एवरीवन.
जी,
Namaste,
जी,
Anisha
नमस्ते
Didi.
दीदी.
नमस्ते भैया. I'm in more of a listening mode. I'm also doing some things along with
No
the
problem, no
listening
problem.
all of
That's why
you.
I asked. That's why I asked if you're comfortable reading it. Okay,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
problem, no problem, no
Thank
problem.
you भैया.
जी. Then I'll suggest Dev bhai, do you want to read the Hindi part and Raghav bhai can read the English part? We can do this whole of Samadhan together. Okay, there are maybe two small paragraphs in this, so we can cover it together and discuss it together. Sure. Please go ahead.
Sure, we are. So, okay. Chapter 3 समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद परिभाषा क समाधान. संपूर्णता और पूर्णता के अर्थ में प्रमाणभूत अवधारणा सहित प्रमाण. अवधारणा का तात्पर्य जान लिया, मान लिया तथा पहचान चुके हैं, यही अवधारणा है. अस्तित्व सहज संपूर्णता का तात्पर्य सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति से है और इकाई सहज संपूर्णता का तात्पर्य इकाई अपने वातावरण सहित संपूर्ण होने से है. पूर्णता का तात्पर्य अस्तित्व में परमाणु के गठन पूर्णता, जीवन पद, क्रिया पूर्णता, आचरण पूर्णता और इन तीनों की निरंतरता है. इन्हीं के लिए आवश्यकीय विकास व जागृति के रूप में प्राप्त ज्ञान, दर्शन व आचरण है. यही पूर्णता अवधारणा का आधार और ध्रुव है. इसे सार्थक तथा चरितार्थ करने के लिए जीवन ज्ञान, अस्तित्व दर्शन ज्ञान तथा मानवीयता पूर्ण आचरण ज्ञान लक्ष्य है. इस प्रकार पूर्णता के अर्थ में अवधारणा का आधार और लक्ष्य स्पष्ट है.
Would you like Sanjeev Bhaiya for him to read the next
No,
paragraph
नहीं,
also?
next आप suggest करें. I was thinking कि first we'll discuss this.
We can do like
इतना कर लेते हैं.
yeah.
जी,
Right.
जी, Raghav bhai, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
will do. Okay. So chapter 3, resolution-centered materialism. Definition. A. Resolution. Evidence along with conception of wholeness and completeness. Okay. Meaning of conception. Conception is that which has been known, believed, and recognized. The wholeness of existence means nature saturated in omnipotence, and wholeness of a unit means the unit being a whole along with its environment. Okay. Next paragraph. Meaning of completeness. In existence, completeness refers to constitutional completeness of the atom, the Jivan status, activity completeness, conduct completeness, and the continuity of these three. For the attainment of these, there is knowledge, holistic view, and conduct realized in the form of development and awakening. These constitute the basis and anchor for conception. To actualize and fulfill this, the objective is knowledge of Jivan, knowledge of existential holistic view, and knowledge of humane conduct. Thus, in terms of completeness, both the basis and the goal of conception become clear.
The dense
Yeah, very, very complicated, right? Yeah,
yeah, we try to unravel it
yeah,
simply to understand this. Okay,
yes.
so let me try explaining it. So there are two words there here. One is called wholeness, and second is called completeness. So existence, the way in Madhyas Darshan we see this thing is has these two concepts of sampurnta or purnta, wholeness and completeness. So each entity, each unit is a whole along with its environment. That is the way existence is. Okay. That is basically, so this also is the basis of saying that existence is coexistence. It's not that the units are in isolation. Units actually are whole along with other units. So that is basically is the meaning of wholeness. If you get a general idea of what wholeness means. Completeness, as we will read in the further thing, is what basically happens in Jivan. Jivan is also a unit of matter, but it is a constitutionally complete unit of matter. And it actually manifests its intents through material nature. So, so the one one of the samvad or dialogues with Babaji, he basically said that पूर्णता संपूर्णता के साथ व्यक्त होती है. It is the completeness manifests with wholeness. So completeness basically is not in isolation. Completeness manifests itself with wholeness. As we were discussing in the previous chapter, that Jivan actually, human being is a combined form of Jivan and Sharir or the body, right? So Jivan manifests itself with the body. So body actually is a physicochemical formation which actually is needs to work with the rest of the nature also. It's part of the, it breathes into the same air that all other units also breathe, right? It basically drinks water, it eats, has food and all the rest of it, right? But to manifest the thought which actually happens in Jivan, which is a complete, which has completeness of constitution, that actually it requires the body, which actually is works with the concept of wholeness or sampurnta. So resolution is basically evidence along with conception of wholeness and completeness. So when conception is, we will actually understand what conception or avdharana actually means. Conception actually means that having arrived at the understanding of how this whole existence works, the understanding with as an acceptance of it. That is, after having seen it that it is so, then basically one is not left with any doubt that it is not so. It basically seeing the reality that it has been, as he says, जान लिया, मान लिया और पहचान चुके हैं, right? Conception is that which has been known, believed, and recognized, right? So then you basically are not left with any doubt or speculation or this thing. This is a state of finality in terms of cognition. Right? Jivan is the entity which basically does has the capability of cognition, right? So it says that this is the state of cognition which is of the finality, that after having understood that the way things are. And then he says that wholeness of existence is nature saturated in omnipotence, which we actually had talked about, that nature is as infinite units and omnipotence is the all-pervasive reality or the space. So within the space, all the units are. And the units are not in isolation. Units actually are work in complementariness with one another. So each unit actually is a whole along with its environment, right? So that is basically is coexistence manifest. So conception is to actually see this, how it is in the nature. Yeah. What is the order in which by which all the uh, orders of the nature are working together with complementariness? What is their relationship, right? How they are actually uh, what is the cyclicality of them? What is the role of each of these ones, right? And what in how they basically have the continuity in this existence, right? That is what the conception actually means. Then basically comes that what is the meaning of completeness? So it basically says completeness actually refers to constitutional completeness of atom. That is the G1 status. So first, there are three tiers or three levels of completeness that has been identified in existence. The first is constitutional completeness. That is basically uh, transition, the irreversible transition from uh, material nature to conscious nature, right? So matter itself becomes conscious, right? And it becomes conscious as an atom, right? So as a unit of atom, right? So this is here we are not saying as a concept. We are saying that it is actually a reality, an atom becoming conscious, which is actually now able to express the sentient powers like thought, like desire, like hope, right? And which is not these kind of powers are not possible by any sort of combination of physical, chemical things. We can actually try to emulate the conscious faculties, but that is not basically going to be conscious. So what we are seeing in terms of artificial intelligence these days is actually trying to emulate the consciousness, right? In through something material, right? But it is saying that the conscious, it's not something which is really conscious. It is not actually having a lived experience, right? It's only actually uh, mm, it's only trying to emulate certain logical processes and sensing and so on and so forth, right? So we will actually study consciousness in the subsequent mm, chapter, hopefully in this book itself. Yeah, we will. In this book also there are some things, some chapters are some sections are there which describe that. We will talk about that. So the first stage of completeness is when between irreversible transition from insentient to sentient. And the second stage of completeness is uh, when you basically do the irreversible transition from delusion to awakening. Delusion is about Jivan's assuming itself to be body. Okay. That is the fundamental form of delusion. Okay. That we assume that we are body. Okay. This is the way animals live. The animals completely, the consciousness is completely identified with the body. Okay. In humans also, in, until they awaken, their identity is completely tied with their body. So all their thoughts are body centric. All their plans are, all their visualizations are body centric. So this actually is, in other words, it is also called attachment or asakti. right? So this is the cause of all kinds of miseries and suffering in the human being, because it is not the reality. It is not something that actually satisfies them. So activity completeness is actually the state in which all the 10 activities of Jivan, which we will talk about in future in the subsequent chapters, will become functional. And as a human being, one actually becomes capable of evidencing their knowledge. So that actually is the state of activity completeness. That is an irreversible transition from delusion to awakening. Then comes the third stage of completeness, which is called Acharan Purnta or conduct completeness. So, while the activity completeness is the beginning of humane conduct, that humane conduct also basically needs to manifest in all dimensions and need to be able to replicate itself, so that basically it takes the form of a tradition, a cycle. It takes the form of avartanshilta or the cyclicality. It becomes just like you see that a tree, a plant, and the biological order actually has a cyclicality of its own. The seed actually is there, then it becomes a plant, it becomes a tree, then it forms a seed again, and the seed again basically results into a new plant, right? So there is a cyclicality in there. Similarly, like there are uh, the animals are there, they give birth to offsprings, and they offsprings become big and they mature and they again mate and result into new children, and that is how basically their tradition actually continues. Now human beings are the units of knowledge order. Now they need to have the cyclicality of their own. Now, the cyclicality of their own is not in terms of the continuation of the body only. The continuation of body can actually happen just like the way it happens in the animals, right? Which we are very familiar with. The aspect of how does the knowledge actually get transferred from one generation to the other, so that there is a continuity of knowledge tradition, right? So that basically is the what third level of completeness that Jivan basically attains. So Acharan Punta, you see that by its nature, it basically happens in coexistence with other uh, human beings, right? That is how basically it would take the form of tradition. So, we see that all three completeness, the purnata that is happening in Jivan, right? And on all these three have their continuity. These three are having their continuity. So avdharana, or the reference of avdharana, or the conception, is to actually achieve this completeness, because for the sake of complete, to explain the completeness, you need to actually explain the progression of it. So when you explain the insentient nature, when you explain Jivan, you also need to explain the insentient nature also, right? When you explain awakening, you need to also explain what the delusion is, or what is the awakening progression also. When you actually explain the conduct completeness, that is how humans actually remain in the continuity of awakening. That is how all how they function, how their systems function, how their civilization functions, how their culture function. We also need to actually explain what is the progression towards it, right? What is the plan from the point when humans discover the knowledge, till the point they actually achieve the continuity of their tradition. So in this is the reason why we say that अवधार ये पूर्णता ही अवधारणा का आधार और ध्रुव है, right? So it basically says that if you actually explain the entire concept of coexistence is based on explained is anchored on this purnata or the completeness. So that is from me. If you basically have any question or comment on the translation, maybe we can discuss that. So basically, we are saying that mm, this chapter is in a way putting the things in the nutshell. That okay, what is coming ahead. It's saying that what is resolution centered materialism. So therefore, what is resolution? What is matter? What is completeness? And so it is basically trying to put the things at a very high level view, right? And then it would elaborate. Yeah.
Rakesh, I mean, as I understand, see, so the wholeness is more like the physical things, like there are more parts, more at a physical level, and this completeness is that at an understanding of Jivan, right? I mean, it is at a more understanding kind of a level, which is not purely physical, I guess. So that's why I was trying to understand. And completeness, okay, once I achieve Jivan, that is constitutional completeness. And then further levels of completeness to achieve and continuity of it. So one is at a purely slightly higher level, and the wholeness is morely as parts putting together are complete kind of meaning. Complete together,
Yeah,
like yeah,
part coming together to make a whole. So
parts put
so
together
so
make a whole. Yeah. Okay.
like for example, a bird is there.
Mhm.
It cannot be seen in isolation. Bird needs to be seen along with
Together.
what it eats, where it nests, and all those things. So and the climate in which it lives, right? So all these things together, basically, only bird can be seen. Like we ourselves also, as a human being, we are also a whole along with our environment. Like, for example, if a human being needs to go to the space, they need to take this environment along with them. Otherwise, they cannot survive,
Yeah,
including the
very true.
air, the food, right? So it's a very important thing that basically units are not in isolation. There is a inherent complementarity which basically is needed for them to exist at the very fundamental level, right from the starting from the atoms. So basically, there are units are not in isolation; they are actually in coexistence, right? So we basically see it quite evident that how, uh, I mean, a child cannot be seen in isolation. A child is can be seen only in the environment of their family, right? And similarly, a plant cannot be seen in isolation. You cannot bleach dry and take it out of the uh, uh, soil and say that this is plant, right? So plant, part of the plant actually is into the environment, right? So existence therefore is coexistence. There is actually inherently uh, it is there. Each entity is environment for the rest of the things, right? And each entity has an environment around it. So this coexistence is something, this is the fabric of existence, right? So this is something what we imply by wholeness. Now completeness is something which basically says that now it is not uh, uh, bonding with other uh, atoms. It's not basically having any physical need for actually imbibing any particles inside or expelling any particles from it, right? It is complete in itself and is able now to actually express consciousness. But even there is a need for coexistence, right? Because it can manifest itself only through this material nature, right? So
So,
human
so
being is
can I think about this completeness as a removal of inconsistencies within myself or whatever are like, is this completeness like if I have some inconsistent behaviors, then it is not, I'm not complete kind of. Uh,
no, you look at it in terms of reality in existence. That is the way to understand it. Not in terms of don't reduce this as an idea or a concept, but actually see this Jivan as a entity in existence. So completeness happens in Jivan. So first level of completeness is that constitutional completeness. Second level of completeness that it attains is the activity completeness when it has become free from delusion. And the third level of completeness that actually it attains is that basically is the state when it has actually evidenced itself in all dimensions, right? So if you need to identify yourself with it, then you need to see that am I actually uh, body or something apart from it? Then if I am, when we actually realize that, then we actually first see that I am not just the body, but I am a combined form of Jivan and uh, body. So that is the first starting point. Then the second point is to actually, uh, am I happy? And do I have the clarity about the things around me, right? About me. So that is the second level of completeness. So when I realize that yes, I do not have the clarity, or I do not have the clarity about myself and about my around myself, then there is a need in me to actually attain certain completeness. Second level of completeness is that I have understood all there is to be understand, all there is to understand. That is the level of conception. Okay, that you actually have that state, that you have actually known, believed, and recognized all there is. Okay, so that is the second level of completeness. And the third level of completeness is whatever you have actually understood, you are able to impart it to the others, right? So so that it basically becomes a form of it takes your completeness is not just uh, within you, it actually is transferred. It's transferable, just like a tree is able to make its seed.
continuity of the whole thing is there. Yes, understood.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone wants to make any observation or comment or any suggestion? Okay.
Yeah, I think we can move ahead. But there was just
I mean,
one. Yeah.
I mean, see, in generally in other books, there is, for example, there would be references that we add as footnotes or something. I mean, is it a good? I mean, wouldn't that be, for example, what is conduct completeness? What is activity completeness? I don't have a reference here. I know activity completeness is there, but is it at all good to add references to where those things are as chapter numbers or book numbers?
Yeah, I think with what we have in Hindi books that are there in the MD app, they actually
Yeah.
I'll forward you the link for that. So
Yes.
right now only Hindi books are over there. So there the keywords are highlighted and the definitions of the keywords are basically can be seen.
Understood.
Yeah, but the way of writing has not been like present. Way of writing this literature by Babaji has not been like what we are familiar with these days. The way we write the science books, right?
Yes.
So we'll have chapter one as justice, chapter one, chapter.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, understood.
That is not how it is, right? So it is. He has written it the way he actually deemed as good and right.
Understood.
Okay.
Ji. So we can go ahead, Bhaiya. But I just wanted to mention one thing I found it interesting when I was reading this book first time. You mentioned in today's in the WhatsApp group before the meeting, this is a small chapter. So if you can just go to the title, Bhaiya, I have an observation I want to share. So the title is resolution. This is it. So the title of the chapter is resolution-centered materialism. So this is a small chapter. What the author is doing is just defining or elaborating these two words in this chapter: resolution and materialism. So what we saw was definition A, which is resolution. We can scroll down. Yeah. So the chapter name is Resolution Centered Materialism, which is actually the name of the book also, Resolution Centered Materialism. So probably what the author intends to do in this chapter is so that there is no ambiguity in the minds of the reader what the author is trying to communicate. So what is the resolution? We just saw now in the last few minutes. And now moving on to B, what is materialism or matter? That is what is being discussed here. So very small chapter, but essence or the essence of the book is, like presented.
Very nice.
So maybe Shilpa Didi, you can read the Hindi part, and Spencer, if you are in a position to read, you can read the English part.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Ji, Shilpa Didi, please. You can complete this whole paragraph now, like whatever is in this chapter, we'll read in one flow and then we can discuss also. Please.
Didi, I think you're talking but on mute.
Shilpa Didi?
Sorry.
जी
Yeah.
जी
ख पदार्थावस्था सह अस्तित्व सहज वस्तुओं में से प्रकृति की भौतिक और रासायनिक वस्तुओं को जानने, मानने, पहचानने और निर्वाह करने के क्रम में भाषा शैली सहित संप्रेषित करना। वस्तु बोध होने का तात्पर्य वास्तविकता जिन जिन में प्रकाशित है और वर्तमान है, जो जैसा है वह उसकी वास्तविकता है। इस प्रकार अस्तित्व में निम्नलिखित वस्तुएं हैं। पहली, व्यापक वस्तु में नित्य वर्तमान सत्ता एक अखंड वस्तु है, क्योंकि इसकी वास्तविकता, पारदर्शिता, पारगाम्यता, व्यापकता दृष्टव्य है। दूसरा, सत्ता में संपृक्त जड़ व चैतन्य प्रकृति वस्तुओं के रूप में नित्य वर्तमान है। तीसरा, सत्ता में संपृक्त जड़ चैतन्य प्रकृति में से जड़ प्रकृति रासायनिक भौतिक रचना विरचना में कार्यरत नित्य वर्तमान है, जो पदार्थावस्था और प्राणावस्था के रूप में गण्य है। पदार्थावस्था का स्वरूप और कार्य विभिन्न प्रकार के परमाणु और उनसे बनी रचनाएं हैं। प्राणावस्था का प्रधान स्वरूप और कार्य प्राणकोशा और ऐसी कोशाओं से रचित रचनाएं हैं। प्राणावस्था सभी अन्य वनस्पतियों, जीवन शरीरों और मानव शरीरों के रूप में दृष्टव्य है। चौथा, सत्ता में संपृक्त जड़ चैतन्य प्रकृति में से चैतन्य प्रकृति गठनपूर्ण परमाणु है, जिसका परिणाम के अमरत्व सहित जीवन पद में संक्रमित रहना पाया जाता है। वक्तव्य: पहला, अध्ययन करने की संपूर्ण वस्तु सह अस्तित्व ही है। दूसरा, अध्ययन करने वाली वस्तु मानव है। तीसरा, प्रत्येक मानव जड़ चैतन्य प्रकृति के संयुक्त साकार रूप में है। चैतन्य प्रकृति का नाम जीवन है, जड़ प्रकृति का नाम शरीर है। या स्पेंसर भाई।
Okay. So B, material order. The physical and chemical entities among the realities in coexistence. One expresses in language in the course of knowing, believing, recognizing, and fulfilling these realities. Understanding is of all those wherein reality is manifest and present. The way something exists is its reality. Hence, the following realities are there in existence. The omnipotence, eternally present as omnipresence, is an indivisible entity because its reality is apparent as transparence, permeability, and omnipresence. 2. The insentient and sentient nature saturated in omnipotence is eternally present in the form of entities. And 3. The insentient nature amongst the insentient sentient nature saturated in omnipotence is eternally present, engaged in physical chemical composition decomposition activities. The true form of material order is numerous kinds of atoms and their compositions. The biological order is essentially in the form of biological cells and their compositions. Biological order is apparent in the form of all the grains, vegetation, animal bodies, and human bodies. 4. Amongst the insentient sentient nature saturated in omnipotence, sentient nature is as constitutionally complete atom, which irreversibly transitions in the jivan status with immortality of constitution. And the statement, the entire content for study is only coexistence. The entity that studies is the human being. Every human is a joint form of sentient and insentient and sentient nature. The sentient nature is called jivan. The insentient nature is called the body.
Very nice.
That's it. Yeah. Nice. Shilpa Didi, do you want to say something? Start there.
I think it's pretty straightforward, yeah. So nothing really. I think it really just flows and it's describing things as it is. So yeah, these are definitions and the statement in the end says it all. So I think nothing to add really from my side.
Totally. Yeah. If I just had to, I guess, summarize a little bit, I will say, well, you can't summarize this so much. It's very pinpoint. But like we were discussing, that it seems to, yeah, it's giving the definitions. First, definition of resolution. Now, the definition of material order, and at the very first couple paragraphs, he says a few words about language and word and how the words indicate the reality, and these are the realities. And then there's insentient and sentient nature saturated in space, and human being is a combination of both, and human being is the entity that understands. So yeah, like you said, very to the point, I would say. But nice section.
Very nice, Spencer and Shilpa Didi. So, so this is kind of giving a very high level view of uh, what resolution centered materialism is. So first thing that is being said is that there are only two realities in this existence. Okay. which is something which we need to see whether it is so. The first is that सत्ता व्यापक रूप में नित्य वर्तमान सत्ता एक अखंड वस्तु है. The omnipotence, the eternally present reality as an indivisible reality. So, so far, in whatever has been written in the text in the idealistic Adarshwadi literature, has been said about the thing about this Brahma, this absolute reality in terms of negation, that it is not this, it is not that. Like, for example, it is called Aseem, right? But the limitless, right? So it's basically trying to define the, trying to point at this thing by saying that this is not what it is. Okay. So these three words that are basically used to define these things are actually defining its very attributes, that this is how it is. Like, for example, Pardarshi or the transparency. This is basically describes as the reality of omnipotence, Brahma. Brahma is not something out there somewhere. It is there in which we are. The space that is there between me and this laptop is Brahma itself, that it is transparent. Okay. The second this is that it is Pargami, permeability, that it basically units do not displace it. Instead, it basically permeates. It is units do not cause any disturbance or distortion in it by their movement. Units have the movement. This does not have any movement. This actually is devoid of all motion, pulse, wave, etc. It's an absolute complete status. So that is also called the word sthiti poon. Its state complete, right? It stays absolute in the same way. The activities of the nature do not cause any ripples in it, do not cause any disturbance in it. It is there it is present. Third is it is present everywhere. There is no place where it is not. Okay. Wherever we go, it is further ahead, we also see it is present. There is no two omnipresences. There are no two Vyapaks or two uh, omnipotences. Because if there were two, then there will have to be one limit. It would become a unit. It would basically, we will have to say this is where this ends and the other one begins. It is saying that there is only one omnipotence. Probably we can't even call it one, because one means that it would have limits. Okay, so it is and these three attributes actually describe it: transparency, permeability, and omnipresence. So this is an indivisible entity. It's not something which is divided. It can be divided. Okay, you can't actually make parts of it. Just like for example, you have a block of wood. You can cut it into many parts, but with this thing, you cannot actually cut it. It doesn't make. You can't make two of them by cutting it. You can't cut it. It is all the units are actually present in it. So this is one reality, right? So that basically we will actually come to understand more what are the further things about it, as we will understand in the subsequent chapters. This uh, this itself is called space. Okay, and also this is or void, right? It is not nothing, it is something. Okay, and it is in itself, it is the absolute energy. Being saturated in it is the cause of energization of all the units of nature. So all the physical chemical units are saturated in this omnipresent reality. And because it is absolute energy, they are actually energized and they have the always energy available to them for their activity. There is no flow of energy from this to the units, because the flow would mean that it would have it's a point and from one point to the other point. So there is no flow of energy. It is the energy is always available. So, ऊर्जा जो है वो इकाइयों को हमेशा प्राप्त है, right? It's always imminent to them. It's always there. It is pre-existing. So, so while the units are attainable for one another, this is actually uh, the availability of omnipresence is pre-existing, right? So it is, there is no point of beginning of existence or end of existence. So it is the state of being. So that is then we say that सत्ता में संपृक्त जड़ चैतन्य प्रकृति वस्तुओं के रूप में नित्य वर्तमान है. That the insentient and sentient nature saturated in omnipotence is eternally present in the form of entities, in the form of entities. So one is that basically there is no way that you can annihilate the units. The matter cannot be annihilated. It can transform, can take one form, if it is in one form, and take the other form. But it does not get annihilated. Matter does not get converted into omnipotence, nor omnipotence can ever create matter. These two realities are ever present. Okay. They are not going to basically be destroyed. That is the state of existence, right? So that is the stability of existence. So there is this stability is always continuing. Okay. So, and then he says that the material nature among the nature, the insentient and sentient nature, is always active, engaged in composition, decomposition activities, which we can see all around us. So the atoms are always, or there is a continuous activity in the atoms and the molecules and molecular forms, right? So there is, we see that the activity of atoms is so much more faster than the activity that we see of physical entities, and further the speed with which the activity actually happens in the physical chemical uh, bodies in the gross form, that actually happens at a much slower rate, right? So so he said that these material, this insentient and nature is in the form of material order and biological order, and material order fundamentally is in the form of atoms and all the compositions made of atoms, while biological order is the basic form of that is the cell, right? And all the compositions are, they're basically made out of the cells. So so there are various types of cells, but essentially the essential idea of all the entities of biological order is that they are compositions of cells which actually work in conjunction with one another with one common pulse, right? So this is the way that basically they each of the cell actually does the function according to the position that it has in the whole composition. So we see that it is in the form of vegetations and all kinds of human body and animal bodies and so on. Yes, Sheila Devi.
Yeah.
Sheila.
Again, actually, the way I was looking at it was that there are people there is a whole field of uh, uh, not study, but people who say that plants have consciousness or matter has
Mm.
consciousness, that kind of thing. So that kind of myth is there. I'm saying myth because people have studied it and have tried to address it also. So यहाँ पर he is stating it's a statement कि I am not of that school of thought. This theory is not that school of thought. I see it as that kind of a statement right at the beginning of his book on Bhautikvad.
Yeah. So he's
That's
basically making a statement. This is how the vegetation is, and that is not consciousness, right? It is, he's making it clear at an ample number of places, right?
right.
So, right. So that is an important, good insight. So basically, we see that uh, so one major distinction that, as we were saying, is that between what insentient and sentient. That's a very important distinction that we need to have, and it's something that we need to observe in within ourselves, that we are not just blood, bones, and meat. Right? There is something more to us. Right? That is the first recognition. The moment we actually take note of that, we notice that we the actually start looking at the things very differently, right? So yeah, so then it comes to that, okay, what is consciousness in itself is as a reality. So there it is, the proposition is that this sentient nature in its form is a constitutionally complete atom which has the immortality of constitution, right? Which means that its constitution never changes. Okay. So this is while in the material nature we see that there is composition and then decomposition. So composition and decomposition is its very nature. Okay. That is how basically they participate in the uh, entire uh, order of coexistence, right? But Jivan actually has immortality. It does not mm, disintegrate, right? This evidence of this we can see within ourselves. I can see for myself that I am the same person who was a boy of 2 or 5, 10, uh, and became 20, and now 56. Yeah, so it is the same person, right? So what is it that is continuing while every cell of my body has changed, right? So so this is one argument in support of uh, this, basically what has been seen. So here it is, it's important that you don't actually understand this thing by deduction. You actually, by deduction meaning that, okay, something has been said and you accept, you basically see its logical consistency. That does not mean understanding. Okay. Understanding actually is that somebody has seen something and is able to live according to what he or she has seen, right? And then you actually uh, consider the proposal of what this person has seen, and then you actually try to build your argument in support of that, to actually and see that whether it is actually so. And if first it needs to meet your test of reason, and then it needs to come into your own seeing as well. And once it comes into your own seeing, then it takes the form of conception. that we called as avdharana, right? So that is the way we are actually going to go about it. That the what has been written over here is what has been seen as a reality. That is the premise from which we are actually operating. It is not basically presented as an idea, or it is being presented as uh, the reality as has been seen and lived. Right. So that is basically is the whole thing. And these realities, the way that we can touch and feel, for example, when we say water, word water, we can actually touch and feel water and find identify that yes, water is a reality. And somebody can just tells you that okay, what the word water, and it quenches the thirst, and this is where you find it, and you actually go about it, go about searching for water, and you actually find it to be so, and quench your thirst with it. In the same way, everything that has been written over here is in terms of what has been realized, right? So that is actually is the uh, intent over here. Yeah. And finally, so we said that the there is one word that has been used over here, sankraman, right? So sankraman means irreversible transition. So there is an event, basically, completeness is an irreversible transition. From insentient to sentient, there is an irreversible transition. Once an atom becomes sentient, there is no turning back. That it cannot actually become it cannot become uh, insentient again. Yeah. So that is the thing. In second completeness, we talked about from delusion to awakening. So once one has become awakened, there is no way that one can become deluded, right? Like for example, if you have understood something, there is no way that you would forget it. Yeah. You may forget what you have remembered, but you cannot forget what you have understood. And finally, if once the tradition of awakening has been established, there is no way that tradition can be actually be broken. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, last we come to the last three sentences, and which basically is making the statement that the entire content of the study is only coexistence. Existence in the form of coexistence is the entire content. There is nothing outside of this. So the course course of our whole study is coexistence only. This is what we are going to study: the space and the units, right? In units in the four orders, and the insentient and the sentient. That is all we are going to study. One, the entity that studies is human being. So that is also an important thing, that basically it's not that someone else will study it. That is, we ourselves are going to study it as entities in the uh, existence. So human being is the only entity in the existence who has the need or can actually study existence. So the entity that studies is human being. And then last one is that every human is a combined form of insentient and sentient nature. The sentient nature is called Jivan, insentient nature is called the body. Right. With this, we come to the end exactly at 9 a.m.
Rakesh Bhaiya,
जी भैया.
I have a question. He said the entire content for study is only coexistence. So you earlier explained about omnipotence, energy, and space. You explained all those things. That is part of, I understand, is the part of the study. And omnipotence. omnipotence is formless and omnipresent. So are they part of the coexistence or part of the existence?
Existence is coexistence.
So here
So,
it's written the entire contact for study is only coexistence.
yeah, when it open up what coexistence means. That coexistence means there are two realities.
Okay.
That is the which actually coexistence. One is the omnipotence or the space that is all around us, and second is the units. Then we say
It's
that,
okay.
okay, what is the nature of this space? Then we actually say that this is actually energy, this is Paramatma, this is Brahm. We actually study in more detail that, okay, this is permeable, this actually is the source of all energy, right? Or it is the energy itself, right? So we are and when you talk about the units, we say that the units are manifest in the form of four orders, right?
That's fine.
Material
Yeah.
order. So
The second
coexistence
and
is
third is fine. I'm only confused with this first one. Now we explained. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
okay, good. Okay. Anyone else would like to make any observations?
Yeah, I mean,
Comment?
one light-hearted one. Generally, resolution is in the mind, and material is material. So now here in this title, we are having resolution-centered materialism. So how matter is controlled by mind, it looks very incompatible actually in the normal scientific way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. So normally materialism is associated with everything negative, right?
yeah, everything negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So
Yeah.
enjoy reading this. Next chapter is actually very interesting, and I have read this chapter and the next one, fourth and fifth chapter. They were actually in the form of a book itself, right? Earlier, it was one of the
Yes.
books that Babaji had written very early in his soon after he had completed his sadhana, right? He probably wrote it in 1975 or something like that, right? So those two chapters were included as it is into this book. So it's a very concentrated book, concentrated two chapters where every word needs to be paid with lot of attention, lot of uh, you need to actually dwell over it too, so that the meaning actually seeps into your consciousness, right? So that is something which we will try to do. Yeah. So I hope that you will actually read the book because it's not enough for just the one session over here on a Sunday morning to actually understand the whole thing. It's important to actually do the reading and reflect over these things. Yes. Yes, Sheila Devi.
I was just thinking, like we were saying, in the end of the previous chapter, stating कि plants don't have consciousness. So the question arises that what is consciousness, right? So now it becomes a platform to understand what it is, and this chapter will explain through evolution how
Hmm.
consciousness evolved, or the
Yeah.
conscious atom evolves on the earth. So
जी बिल्कुल
बहुत डिटेल में है वो तो है ही.
right. It's a phenomenal chapter actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah. Yeah,
Prasad.
I also want. Yeah, please, Sheila, please go ahead.
Just saying that it is the Vikalp, that's basically.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
I personally also felt, and I want to say to most of the participants here who probably some of us have not read this book earlier. When we are reading the books, there are a few things which the author keeps on mentioning again and again, emphasizing again and again, and explaining again and again. So even if we miss some part of it, there's always a chance that somewhere else in the book or some other book we will get to cover it again. But there are a
Mhm.
few things in this chapter which I realized that they are not covered at many other places. So it becomes and they are deep actually for the understanding. So my humble suggestion is that for both of us, for all of us who want to take a deep dive in Madhyas Darshan, please do not skip this chapter. Even if you have to miss some of the session, try to see the recording later on.
So nice of you to say this. Kaji, so thank you so much for joining, and look forward to meeting again on next Sunday.
Ji. Namaste.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste.